In today's gaming landscape, there's certainly a space for games that are more of a movie short experience. Sure, we could play these games that last 6,000 hours and do fucking everything imaginable inside a game world, but sometimes a nice little tight experience actually works very well, as was shown in Order 1886. Now, that's not to say I wouldn't enjoy exploring every inch of Peter Jackson's Skull Island in the old movie King Kong, but yeah, sometimes it's just kind of nice to have just a game, a 6 to 10 hour experience that sticks with you and has some interesting things along the way. I certainly prefer the big open world experiences, but sometimes you watch a movie and you observe that this would work really well as a tight single player experience. And the movie I recently watched did that very well for me, called Cold Skin, the 2018 movie that I was actually kind of shocked and I'd never heard about it or seen it, and it's pretty fucking good actually. Now, this movie was certainly based on the novel, uh, but it is really plays into being a good movie. It's one of those things that you kind of know when you watch it. It was a movie based on a book. In 1914, a young Englishman travels to a remote island and gets attacked by savage frog creatures or fish type beings. It's all very exciting and it makes for a pretty damn good movie. But man, what a great single player action experience this would have with cutting edge graphics, maybe your ability to explore the island, gather resources, fight the creatures, stockpile weapons and ammo, make defenses, and perhaps even make a multiplayer experience out of it in the same vein as Left 4 Dead of some type. The movie stars the legendary Ray Stevenson, and although there's a very awkward scene of him fucking the frog creature a couple times, it's his performance that makes for just a fucking stunning character, and the whole movie is well acted all the way through. So Rip Ray Stevenson, the absolute fucking legend. But let's get back to the gameplay aspects of this movie. Now, I mean, there's something to be said for the kind of Call of Duty-esque type games where you just defend against endless horde waves of creatures. I've recently loved playing Killing Floor 2, a game similar to this. Defense, multiplayer, creatures, PvE, whatever you want to call it. And I actually thought that this movie translated well to kind of a movie type game where it would just be a single player experience and you would just come in, you get to defend your base, you get to learn more about these frog creatures, and perhaps even bring back Ray Stevenson's character into the digital form. As much as I love open worlds and games to explore every nook and cranny, there is an absolute market for like tight single player experiences. You know, sometimes like this movie, you just want like an experience, like a single plot story that you can just follow along to the end. And although this movie has relatively, crazy scenes in it, it all kind of works. And the early 1900s and such is an excellent time because, I mean, what an age of exploration from humans. You know, they have all these modern weapons. You could go all over the world. There's hidden treasures, hidden societies of creatures. You know, that's such a great time period, the early 1900s. Basically, like the dawn of modern human civilization, so to speak. Yeah, sure. The movie got mediocre to terrible reviews and didn't even gross $1 million worldwide. But you know, these indie kind of projects are not for everyone. And sometimes when you're in the right mood for this type of thing, just like kind of thrilling and adventurous, it really strikes all the right boxes. And I gave this movie a solid 4 out of 5 stars. But I mean, for fuck's sakes, Ray Stevenson, how could you put your dick in that thing? I mean, even in my coldest, loneliest nights on this island, I wouldn't even fucking consider it. I mean, you catch some kind of disease from that shit. But I think the strong points for this movie, and actually a strong argument for making a game of this nature. It's just that feeling of loneliness and survivability on a cold, dark island that would really ratchet up the tension. And if it was like semi-open world, like you'd have the whole island to explore, it wouldn't really be that hard to make because, as you see it depicted in this film, it's a very simple setting. There's not a lot of foliage. It's just a very barren island that these guys camp out at, and it just would make for a very atmospheric setting. And you could even put in a mechanic where you could raw dog these things if you got too lonely. I personally absolutely love open worlds, but I mean, there are so many games I've played. They are like not quite open world, semi-open world. As long as it's not too static and linear, I'm okay with like a just tight single player campaign. And single player campaigns are probably one of the best, single player things for, the general casual audience. So I think that there's so many movies and situations you could put in like a 12-hour experience, somewhat open world, tons of interactability, physics, everything. There's just so many examples of great settings we could get more of that in. So rest in peace to the legend that is Ray Stevenson. And I'm not 100% against them using games to bring these characters back to life.